The story begins in 1989 following a young boy named Theo, a kid who absolutely loves soccer and idolizes Maradona. One afternoon, Theo is out on a field playing ball with his friends. When the game ends, he rushes over to one of them and lights up with excitement after learning his friend has finished his homework. They had made a deal. If his friend helped with the assignment, Theo would lend him his video game console. Theo quickly hands over his homework, keeps his promise with the console, and then runs straight home. Instead of using the front door, Theo climbs up a drain pipe and sneaks into his bedroom through the window. He lives with his older brother Oscar and their grandmother. Their parents are not around. Their mother vanished mysteriously years ago, and no one ever talks about their father. Oscar is responsible, careful, and mature, the complete opposite of Theo, who is careless and always getting into trouble. Oscar also deeply cares for his pet turtle. When Oscar checks on Theo, he realizes his brother somehow made it back into the room through the window. He questions how Theo got inside, but Theo lies and claims he has been in the room the whole time doing homework, even showing the finished assignment as proof. Oscar is both shocked and impressed that Theo actually completed it. Oscar then notices that Theo's leg is injured from playing soccer. He carefully treats the wound. Even though Oscar knows Theo lies often, he never tells their grandmother. He wants to protect his younger brother from getting scolded. Later on, while Oscar is buried in stacks of old research books left behind by their mother, Theo invites him to go watch a movie. Oscar finds this strange, since Theo usually never wants to spend time with him. Still, Oscar refuses because he needs to keep studying the books. Theo asks why Oscar is still obsessed with their mother's old research. Oscar explains that he is trying to find her. Theo repeats neighborhood rumors saying their mother ran away with someone. Oscar firmly rejects that idea. He believes their mother was a brilliant scientist who discovered time portals and is now traveling through different eras. Theo doubts it and thinks time travel is impossible, but Oscar remains convinced that one day he will open a portal and find his mother. The story then shifts to Elena, Oscar's childhood friend. Oscar has always had feelings for her, but his shy nature keeps him from ever saying anything. Elena's father, David, owns a department store and loves sharing long stories about his travels around the world. Even when he feels bored, Oscar listens politely and never interrupts. One day, Oscar sees Elena, Theo, and a group of friends getting ready to go watch a movie. Elena warmly invites Oscar to come along. Oscar wants to say yes, but before he can respond, Theo quickly steps in and says that Oscar is too busy and does not have time for the theater. Theo leaves with Elena and the others, leaving Oscar behind. Too shy to speak up, Oscar misses a rare chance to spend time with her. He grows deeply annoyed at Theo for ruining the moment and starts thinking about how to get back at him. Later that night, after Theo returns from the movie, he tries to sneak into the house again by climbing the drain pipe and entering through the window. This time, he is shocked to find their grandmother already standing in his room. It becomes clear that Oscar has told her everything. Furious, Theo begins plotting his own revenge. Looking for a way to hurt his brother, Theo finds one of their mother's important research books. While Oscar is out, Theo rips out the pages and folds them into paper rockets. As he flips through the book, he discovers an old photo of their mother standing on a porch in a red dress and quietly slips it into his pocket. He also finds a small sheet of paper filled with coordinates and hides it inside a dictionary, simply to mess with Oscar. Not long after, Theo wanders into the town square, eating a banana and casually tossing the peel away. In an instant, something impossible happens. A strange portal opens in midair, and the banana peel vanishes completely. Confused, Theo rushes down to check, but it is gone. To be sure, he throws a pair of roller skates from the same spot, and they disappear as well. He then tosses a stone, which vanishes without a trace. This moment marks the beginning of a massive change Theo could never have imagined. Everything changes in that moment. This is Jump. Excited, Theo runs to Oscar and tries to explain what he has discovered. Instead of amazement, he is met with fury. Oscar sees that their mother's precious research pages have been destroyed for nothing more than useless paper rockets. Theo insists that he has found a real-time portal, but Oscar refuses to believe him. He thinks Theo is mocking him, and the two erupt into a heated argument. Their grandmother calls them downstairs to eat the steamed bread she has just made. She reminisces about how their grandfather used to bake soft, delicious bread and how much she misses him. Out of respect, Theo and Oscar pause their fight. But once she leaves, the argument resumes. Oscar throws harsh insults at Theo, and fueled by anger and a desire to hurt his brother where it hurts most, Theo makes a terrible decision. Theo takes Oscar's beloved turtle to the town square and throws it into the time portal. In an instant, the turtle disappears completely. When Oscar realizes his turtle is gone, he is devastated. He puts up missing posters all over the neighborhood and breaks down in tears, mourning the loss of the small companion he loved so much. Seeing Oscar's pain, Theo finally understands just how terrible his mistake was. Driven by guilt and the need to fix everything, Theo makes a reckless choice and jumps into the time portal himself. He lands in a strange place where everything he had thrown into the portal is scattered around. The banana peel, the roller skates, the stone, and most importantly, the turtle are all there. Theo quickly picks up the turtle, holds it carefully, and returns home. He places it back in its aquarium and goes to sleep peacefully, never telling anyone about his journey through time. When morning comes, everything is different. Oscar is no longer a teenager, but a bearded adult getting ready for work. It is no longer 1989. It is now 2022. Without realizing it, Theo has traveled 32 years into the future. In this timeline, Oscar is a physics professor. That morning, he stops by the department store still owned by David, Elena's father, to buy daily necessities. Shortly after, Elena appears and greets him warmly. She is now divorced and has 2 children, yet Oscar's feelings for her have never truly faded. Elena herself works as an English lecturer at the same university. Meanwhile, Theo wakes up at home and calls out for Oscar while carrying the turtle he saved. When their grandmother enters the room, she is now extremely old and does not recognize Theo at all. When Oscar sees Theo as a small child, the shock is so overwhelming that he faints and collapses to the floor. After regaining consciousness, Oscar stares at Theo in disbelief, trying to confirm whether the boy in front of him is really his brother. Theo is just as confused, wondering how this stranger knows his name and who he actually is. Oscar explains that he is Theo's brother, but Theo cannot understand how Oscar could have become an adult overnight. Through a confusing exchange, Theo finally accepts the impossible truth. He is truly in the year 2022. As they piece together what happened, Theo shows Oscar the photo of their mother wearing a red dress. That moment makes Oscar realize that time portals truly exist and operate at a quantum level, linking different periods of time. Theo then goes back to the town square to test the portal by throwing a stone, but this time it simply bounces back like normal. The portal has closed, leaving Theo stunned and confused. Oscar explains that the portal only works one way, from 1989 to 2022, with no return path. If they want to send Theo back to 1989, they will have to find another portal. Oscar then takes Theo to meet one of his senior professors, hoping to find a scientific explanation. Instead, the professor dismisses the idea entirely, calling time portals an impossible fantasy, even with all the technological advances of 2022. On the way home, Theo is left in awe of the modern world. He stares at Oscar's smartphone, trying to understand what it is. Oscar explains that it is a phone without wires or a number dial, and Theo is amazed by how much everything has changed. When they arrive home, one of Oscar's co-workers asks about Theo and assumes the boy is Oscar's younger brother who once disappeared. Oscar quickly lies, saying Theo is his cousin's son. Theo introduces himself as Diego Armando, proudly pointing out that his name sounds like Maradona, the legendary soccer player. When Oscar casually mentions that Maradona has recently passed away, Theo is completely shocked and heartbroken, realizing that his idol is gone. Oscar tries to calm Theo down and reminds him that their main goal is finding a way to send him back to 1989. He starts working through complex calculations to locate another possible time portal. During this process, Theo remembers the list of coordinates that belong to their mother. He admits that during a moment of anger, he hid the list inside a dictionary as an act of revenge. When Oscar asks their grandmother about the dictionary, she explains that she already gave it to David. The next morning, Oscar tells Theo that he is going to see David and warns him to stay at home. Theo sneaks out anyway and accidentally ends up inside a massive modern shopping mall. He is overwhelmed by the advanced technology, especially a virtual reality headset. He tries it out and gets so carried away that he ends up breaking it. Oscar is called to the mall and is forced to pay for the damage. Frustrated, he scolds Theo for ignoring his warning and causing trouble. After that, they go to David's store to ask about the dictionary with the coordinates. David tells them it is at his house. While they are talking, Elena walks into the shop. Theo is stunned when he sees her and blurts out that she has grown into a very beautiful woman. Elena looks confused, wondering who Theo is and how he knows her name. Oscar quickly covers by repeating that Theo is his cousin's son. Elena then invites both of them to her home, where her 2 children, Nathan and Brenda, are busy playing the latest mobile games. Theo is fascinated and wants to join in, while Oscar quietly pulls the coordinate notes from inside the dictionary and slips them into his pocket. Soon after, Oscar explains to Theo that their mother's list may contain the locations of multiple time portals. They test several of the spots by dropping objects at specific points, hoping a portal will appear, but nothing happens. Oscar suspects an error in his calculations and decides to try again later. The next day, Elena takes Theo shopping for new clothes that fit the style of 2022. While trying them on, Theo slips back into his familiar soccer commentator routine, imagining the ball at the feet of a Maradona fan and picturing a powerful shot that ends in a winning goal. Hearing his excited energy, Elena suddenly feels a strong sense of recognition. It hits her who this boy really is, and she realizes he is the same Theo she once knew as a child. Elena is left confused by how Theo could still be the same age after so many years. Theo finally explains the truth. He jumped into a time portal his mother had been researching and traveled directly from 1989 to 2022. At first, Elena struggles to believe it, but the evidence in front of her makes it impossible to deny. She then turns to Oscar, asking him to confirm the story. Oscar proves it by testing the portal in the town square, throwing a stone that simply bounces back, showing where the portal once existed. He explains that there are 3 types of time portals. One allows direct travel between 2 specific points in time. Another is unpredictable and can send someone to a random timeline. The third is the most dangerous because it has no exit and traps anyone who enters forever. Theo used the first type to reach 2022, and now they must find the right portal to send him safely back to 1989. Over the following days, as Oscar continues studying the list to locate the correct portal, he begins to truly enjoy Elena's increasingly frequent visits. Together, they work to decode the information left behind by Oscar's mother. At the same time, Elena starts worrying about the consequences of sending Theo back to the past. She realizes that changing events in 1989 could create a different timeline where her 2 children might never exist. The thought deeply unsettles her, since they mean everything to her. Oscar reassures her that even if Theo returns and alters certain events, her present life should remain unchanged. He promises to find a way to protect her timeline, while still helping Theo return to his own time. After hearing this, Theo, now feeling responsible and fully aware of how important Elena's children are, comes up with a clever idea. He asks Brenda and Nathan to help him search for a time portal. Theo explains that helping him return to the past would actually guarantee that both of them are born in the future. The logic is simple. If they were never born, they could not be there now to help him, and the explanation makes sense to them. Using a digital map, the 3 children follow the coordinates listed in Theo's mother's notes. Theo is convinced that one location on a beach is the portal that will take him back to 1989. Filled with hope at the thought of finally going home, Theo jumps straight into the sea. Brenda and Nathan hesitate, but follow him in. When they resurface and swim back to shore, all 3 are stunned. The modern city they know is completely gone. They have traveled into the past, but not to 1989. Instead, they have been thrown all the way back to 1949. Back in 2022, a panicked Elena contacts Oscar and tells him that Theo and her 2 children have vanished. Oscar suspects they may have found a portal to 1989 and suggests they go there as well to search for all 3 of them. In 1949, Theo, Brenda, and Nathan face a serious problem. They have no money and no idea how to survive in this time. As they struggle to figure out what to do, Brenda and Nathan come up with a clever plan. They decide to use modern wireless earbuds to put on a mind-reading magic show, something that looks unbelievable to people in 1949. Nathan positions himself at a distance where he can clearly see the board. Theo stands up front, writing down names given by the crowd while wearing earbuds that no one in that era has ever seen. Nathan secretly relays the information to Brenda, and with her eyes closed, she stuns the audience by repeating the names perfectly, as if she truly has psychic powers. The performance quickly draws the attention of the police, since street shows without permission are not allowed. The moment Theo spots the officers approaching, he lets out a special whistle as a signal to run. All 3 take off as fast as they can. During the chase, they are suddenly caught by an unknown man who takes them to a hidden location. Back in 2022, Oscar and Elena finally locate the portal entrance that leads to 1989. Holding hands tightly, they count together and jump in. When they arrive in 1989, Elena is shocked to see posters everywhere announcing Theo's disappearance from that timeline. Meanwhile, in 1949, the man who captured the children brings them to the secret headquarters of an underground group opposed to the government. The group's leader demands to know why the children were brought there. The man explains that somehow, the kids know the group's secret code. That code turns out to be the special whistle Theo used while escaping from the police. To Theo's shock, the whistle is actually a newly adopted secret signal used by the group, and it is something he originally learned from his grandmother. Soon after, a young woman from the group arrives to check on the children, and Theo immediately recognizes her. She is his grandmother in her youth. Theo realizes that his grandmother was once part of this resistance group, which explains how she knew the secret whistle. Despite opposing the government, the group is truly working to protect ordinary people and has no intention of harming the children. Knowing they are safe for now, Theo, Brenda, and Nathan slowly begin adapting to life in 1949, and having Theo's grandmother with them makes the transition much easier. Back in 1989, Oscar and Elena search through Oscar's house, hoping to find any sign of the missing children, but the place is empty. Suddenly, they hear someone coming and quickly hide inside a closet. The person who enters is a younger version of Oscar from that timeline. He goes into his room and breaks down in tears while staring at the missing posters for Theo. Watching his younger self overwhelmed with grief, the future Oscar feels an intense pain at the loss of his brother. Back in 1949, the three children slowly begin adjusting to their new reality, especially after realizing they cannot return through the same portal they arrived in. In the middle of this uncertainty, Theo sees an opportunity and asks his grandmother, still young at this point, to take a photo with him, Brenda, and Nathan. He asks her to keep the photo safe forever, even into her old age, and to display it carefully. That simple request triggers a quiet miracle in 1989. The photograph of Theo's young grandmother in Oscar's house suddenly changes. Now the image shows Theo, Brenda, and Nathan standing beside her. Without anyone knowing at the time, Theo had written the coordinates of the portal they used on the back of the photo, believing it would one day guide Oscar and Elena. When Oscar and Elena notice the change in the photograph, they finally understand what needs to be done. They use a portal to return to 2022, then locate and enter the portal marked by Theo's coordinates. Upon arriving in 1949, they are met by two members of the resistance group where Theo's young grandmother is staying. Theo had already warned the group that his brother Oscar would come looking for him. Because of that, the group is prepared to test whether the man who arrives truly is Theo's brother. They use a special whistling code that the grandmother once taught Oscar in the original timeline. When Oscar successfully responds with the correct signal, they are convinced and lead Oscar and Elena to the place where the children are living with the resistance. Elena is overwhelmed with relief when she sees both of her children safe. The mood shifts, however, when Theo suddenly says that he wants to stay in 1949. Oscar is crushed and pleads with him not to leave him behind. He admits that despite all their arguments, Theo has always been his only true companion. Oscar opens up about the deep loneliness he felt without Theo, and about witnessing his younger self break down in grief over losing him. Hearing this heartfelt confession, Theo is deeply moved and decides to return with Oscar and the others. Before long, they manage to locate a time portal that will take them back to 2022. One of the resistance members drives them to the portal site in an old car. Before they leave, the man gives Theo's grandmother several loaves of bread he baked himself. She praises the bread and eats it with joy. In that moment, Oscar and Theo realize the truth. The man is their grandfather since their grandmother had always loved her husband's bread. Because of that, they make sure to bring some of their grandfather's bread with them before leaving 1949. When they finally pass through the correct portal and return to 2022, the bread from the past is given to their now elderly grandmother. She is completely stunned because the taste is exactly the same as the bread her husband used to make decades ago. The time finally comes for Oscar to send Theo back to 1989 through a portal they have found at a construction site. But Theo hesitates, overwhelmed by fear. He wants to stay in 2022 because Oscar feels like a father figure to him and makes him feel safe. Hearing this, Oscar is deeply moved and holds Theo tightly. He explains that the Oscar living in 1989, his younger self, is also incredibly lonely and needs Theo as both a brother and a best friend. He promises that his younger self will protect Theo with the same care a parent gives a child. With great difficulty, Theo finally agrees to return to 1989. When he reappears in his original timeline, everyone is filled with relief and joy. Oscar feels an enormous sense of release, and their grandmother welcomes Theo back with pure affection. When asked where he has been all this time, Theo makes up a story about running away from a hiding place, choosing to keep the complicated truth about time travel to himself. In 1980, the younger Oscar, who had been stressed and confused by Theo's disappearance, had started to believe that their mother truly abandoned them. In his frustration, he had even considered throwing away her research books. But Theo finally tells him the full story of his time-traveling adventure, and even shows him a smartphone from 2022 as proof. Even without an internet connection to demonstrate its full power, the futuristic device alone is enough to make young Oscar begin to believe. In the end, the two brothers make an important decision. They promise never to use time portals again and choose to focus on living a happy life together in their own time. Years later, the story returns to 2022, where Oscar and Theo now live together as two grown men. One day, the doorbell rings. Theo jokingly suggests it must be Elena and encourages Oscar to finally confess his feelings, especially now that Elena is divorced. Theo explains that he held back before because Elena once feared that changes to the timeline could prevent her children from ever being born. For her, Brenda and Nathan mean everything, and Oscar had promised that no matter what happened to the timeline, her life would remain unchanged. Now everything is different. Brenda and Nathan have been born and grown up, and Elena is no longer married. To Theo, this feels like the perfect moment for Oscar to speak his heart. When Oscar opens the door, Elena is standing there, looking beautiful and smiling at him. The film ends by suddenly cutting back to the past, as a time portal opens and a woman steps out. She is revealed to be Oscar and Theo's mother, the brilliant scientist who had been studying time portals all along and vanished so mysteriously. So the moral of the story is never throw bananas or turtles into time portals, because it always turns a small mess into a multiverse-level disaster.